Welcome to UGA Sports Rumors versus Facts. I'm Blaine Gilmer here with Jed May and Trent Smallwood, and we're here once again to cover UGA football recruiting. Trent, Jed, how's everything going this evening?
Going good. Can't complain.
Going good on this side.
I hear you. Well, Georgia, things certainly going good for them. The month of July has been hot, not only hot weather, but hot on the trail for the Bulldogs. They've got 4 commitments in the class of 2023 and 2024 and have just added a 5th commitment in Jabree Coleman in the 2025 class. So Georgia is really getting things going here in the month of July, guys.
Yeah, I mean, anytime anytime Georgia takes a running back, it certainly catches your attention with what they've done at the position. And Jabree Coleman out of Philadelphia, out of Imhotep Charter Institute, a powerhouse school up there. Georgia's obviously done well for themselves when you look at pulling DeAndre Swift out of Philadelphia 5 or 6 years ago. So Coleman's a guy to watch. We were talking about him earlier, Blaine. He's a big guy for being a rising sophomore in high school. He's about 6 foot. He's a little over 200 pounds already. So you project down the line, by the time he gets to college, he could be a really, Branson Robinson type physical specimen at that running back spot.
Oh yeah, my camera's messing up.
It seems you know a little bit more about. I guess you've had conversations with the coach or in the past. Is there a connection there with Swift?
No, Swift went to.
I knew it was different high schools, but I didn't know if there
Yeah,
was
it's a different high school, but that's a lot of I remember when I was talking with the coach about, I don't know, it might have been a Nye White last year in the 22 class, but he was like, yeah, when DeAndre Swift had his commitment video, right, and he's running through the streets of Philadelphia and everything, there was a bunch of kids. He's like, yeah, I think a Nye White was one of the kids in that commitment video. So these Philadelphia high schools are really, kind of entertaining. Imhotep is like a power program there. Georgia's offered several other guys on their roster. Amir Stewart, a safety, has a Georgia offer. I want to say there's another 25 guy up there that has a Georgia offer. So definitely a place that the Georgia coaches know well. The Fran Brown connections there obviously don't hurt. And yeah, Georgia's gone up there and got the 25 class started with a guy from the Northeast.
Yeah, and that Mark Webb is a guy that came to Georgia from Philadelphia as well. So they're kind of a little pipeline going there. But like I said, that's a 2025 commit. Long way to go on that one. But we'll see. That certainly a nice start to Georgia in that class. But let's kind of go in reverse order, I guess. We haven't really had a show since Carr and Landen Thomas in the class of 2024 committed. Todd Hartley having a big hand in both of those commitments, Carr, and then, of course, Landen Thomas and Todd Hartley. We saw Del McGee just pick up a running back in 2025, and we're going to talk about Glenn Schumann in the class of 2023, but the 2024 has Todd Hartley's fingerprints all over it right now, Trent.
Yeah. 2024 is off to a rocking start, and you look at it again, another elite tight end pool for Todd Hartley. I mean, the guy has landed a top 2 or 3 tight end in how many consecutive classes, and he continues that. And then Carr is an excellent pickup as well. So off to a great start with it being 2 in-state guys, and both of them highly ranked, and both of them seeming like they're here to stay. It's a long ways away, but these are 2 guys that are already talking up Georgia. I saw Carr's been tweeting about Georgia a lot when coming about winning more national championships. So yeah, it's those are 2 huge pickups.
Yeah, and obviously there's guys that in the class of 2024 all littered throughout the state of Georgia. We don't even have time to go through all of them. I mean, I think we were saying it's 40 out of the Rivals 250 are from the state of Georgia right now, and 11 of the top 50 prospects, something crazy along those lines in the class of 2024. So Georgia gets a couple of them right there, but then. Jed, the other 2 commitments that we've talked about, we said there was 5. So we've talked about Jabree Coleman in 2025. We've talked about Landen Thomas and Carr. And now in the class of 2023, the one most pertinent to a lot of these people watching is probably Raylen Wilson at linebacker in the class of 2023, and then Daniel Harris at defensive back. We had a show and we're able to talk about Daniel Harris a little bit, but Raylen Wilson completing that flip for Michigan, a big deal for Glenn Schumann. And I've jokingly put the meme out, the Spider-Man meme of Hartley, McGee, and Schumann all pointing at each other at the same thing because they're all recruiting their tails off right now.
Yeah, Raylen Wilson's the guy. If for all you guys out there that watch the show every week, we've talked about Raylen Wilson for a long time as a guy that we could see ending up in this class, even when he was still committed to Michigan. Like, he visited Georgia in March. He came for an official visit. I believe it was the first weekend in June, the really big weekend when he was here. I could be wrong on that, but either way, they've gotten CJ Allen. As soon as Raylen Wilson decommitted from Michigan, it kind of seemed like a matter of when, not if, he'd end up in Athens, and he pulls the trigger on Sunday. So you got those two guys on board, and now the calendar, the arrows start pointing toward Troy Bowles on Saturday. If Georgia closes on Troy Bowles, which we all, I think that Georgia will, Georgia seems to lead there. That's an incredible inside linebacker class. I mean, if CJ Allen is your lowest rated of the three, like, you've done pretty well for yourself, because CJ Allen's a stud. And then you've got Raylen Wilson and Troy Bowles to go along with him. So this inside linebacker class is already very good, but it's got the potential to just be historic, great, elite, whatever. Troy Bowles commits on Saturday. Yeah,
that would be huge. Trent, your thoughts on Raylen Wilson, and then we can touch again on Daniel Harris. So, I mean, that's two really good pickups for Georgia's defense in the class of 2023.
Yeah, I really like Raylen. He's kind of like your linebackers that you've seen at Georgia with your Monty Rice and those guys. So excellent lateral speed. He sheds blocks well. He's a good blitzer. That's one thing I noticed on film is they blitz him a lot. He's a very good blitzer. He's just just looking at him, he's built. He's almost looks like college ready from a physical standpoint. Now it'll take some the learning curve and the maturity aspect of that mentally, but he looks like a linebacker that's going to fit in just good for Schumann and Athens.
Yeah, and anytime a linebacker's returning punts for their high school team, pretty good indication that they're a playmaker, that they can get some stuff going. So, yeah, for sure, Raylen Wilson to Georgia.
I think I saw a track time of 10.89 or 10.9 of the 100. So it's pretty good for a linebacker.
Yeah, not bad at all. And of course, we touched on Daniel Harris, I think, a couple of weeks ago, just saying that he's got that length to him, and he's another big corner. That seems to be the trend now. If you're not 6'2", you're probably not going to play corner at Georgia. That just kind of seems how it is now. All these guys are long and athletic. So very, very cool stuff. Right there to see for the staff, and because they put in a lot of hard work on this kind of stuff, and you see things going back and forth, but those guys have to be excited about what they're bringing in now. And I know a lot of people over on the Vent and the Vault are excited about it as well, but a lot of questions that are in the other way as well. So we'll be getting in that. There's a little bit of panic setting in a couple of positions that we'll be talking about here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and kick it off here, Jed, with our first question from Zamir for Heisman.
Zamir for Heisman, got to update that username. Who in our opinion will be the next three commits?
Yeah, so I think you got to just look at the scheduled ones out right now, and where Georgia sits with them. I think all of us have future cast in for Jamaal Jarrett to Georgia. I think it's just seemed like ever since he was there for the national championship parades, celebration that day in January, and he got to meet Jordan Davis for the first time, it's just felt like he was going to end up being a Georgia Bulldog. Now, it's always hard to overcome the North Carolina Tar Heels when you're in that state. Jed, you saw it last year with Travis Shaw. So I think he would be one. Then who are the other guys that are scheduled next? I think Joenel Aguero is a week after him, and then Troy Bowles that we talked about.
Troy Bowles is the 16th. Kelton Smith is, I believe, the 21st next week. So theoretically, within a span of 5 days, if we're looking at just the schedule ones, you could say Troy Bowles Saturday, Jamaal Jarrett's is Tuesday, and then KJ Smith's is Thursday. Now, that being said, there's always the possibility that someone pops. I mean, we've talked about this a lot, right? When people say, when is Caleb Downs going to commit, or when is, Samson Okunlola going to commit? There's guys that could pop it at theoretically any time. We don't really know on a lot of these guys. But as far as scheduled ones go, yeah, you've got Bowles this Saturday, Jarrett Tuesday, Smith Thursday, and then Joenel Aguero the next Saturday, 23rd.
And, Trent, I mean, you've seen it for a while. There's guys like Tyler Williams, for example, who has a commitment date of September 27th. But let's say Georgia were to be the heavy favorite there, and maybe they want to push for a little bit of commit. It could, it could come earlier than expected. That happens at times.
Yeah, and are they having that big weekend again at the end of July?
Yeah, I believe they're having the what they call it, the dog days of summer type deal last year.
Cookout deal and all that kind of stuff.
They had that huge slip and slide and stuff on the field. With that coming, and you see some of these guys that might be are scheduled to announce in September, if some of those guys get on campus, like Tyler Williams, the guys you mentioned, you might see that timeline move closer, especially some of these guys that are waiting until the fall. So we got the 4 scheduled ones, I think, but then you might see some if they're able to get on campus in July, you might see some jump at the beginning of August, move that timeline up a little bit.
Yeah, and that's when we learned Sean Alexander was going to be a Georgia Bulldog last year. He was there. I followed up with him in his camp, and he pretty much said, "Hey, this is going to happen." Now, it didn't come to fruition until he didn't commit until right before signing a little bit later on. But that kind of stuff happens, and that's why you subscribe to the Vault. We'll be keeping you up to date with anything we hear on that end once the end of July comes as well. So Ryan Dog says, you guys are awesome. We appreciate that. How many commits by the end of July? So I guess let's just do like an over-under here. I mean, there's lots that are possible. Like we said, we don't know exactly when Justice Haynes and Caleb Downs are going to be committing. We don't know exactly when Connor Lew, but those guys are all close here, Jed, and that could increase the number from 4 or 5 scheduled guys to, if you were to land a couple of those guys, 6, 7, 8 guys that end up committing. And then also you got guys in different classes, as we saw today with Jabree Coleman. So
yeah, I was just going to say that number. I mean, there could be 24 guys that pop at any time. I mean, even you were just talking about guys' timelines getting
24.
Yeah,
no, not 24 guys.
24 guys, yeah. Over under 24. But Carr starts tweeting out July 11th the other day, remember? And we're all like, oh, he's talking about Landen Thomas, probably, right? And we're all getting ready for, actually today was supposed to be the day, and then Landen Thomas goes ahead and pulls the trigger the next day, stuff like that. So let's see. I'm the resident guy with a gambling problem here, so I'll set the over under at let's see, 5.5.
Yeah, I think 5.5 would be a good one to. That's a good hook there to get people one way or the other. So
is that all classes you're referring to?
Yeah, all classes. I'm going over on 5.5.
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah,
over.
I would go over too. I think I think it'll be interesting to see how many across different classes end up. But yeah, I think Georgia's going to have a really, really good month of July, and we're going to touch on some of those guys here shortly. So I got another question here from Drew Yang 96, Jed.
Yep. So what's y'all's gut feeling on Jalen Hale? Also, do we still believe Tyler Williams and Raymond Cottrell end up in the class?
I think Georgia's sitting really well for Tyler Williams. I think Raymond Cottrell, listen, the guy's just enjoying getting to go through the recruiting experience and stuff like that. But I really think that he really loves Georgia. He's doing a lot of recruiting on Georgia's behalf. I would expect Raymond Cottrell to end up in this class. I think Tyler Williams right now, I think Georgia leads for Tyler Williams. And I think the message that Kirby Smart and Brian McClendon and Todd Monken have all given him has really resonated with him and his family. But I'll defer to you guys on Jalen Hale right here. What's your thoughts on Jalen Hale? I believe he put out a top 3 of Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, which that top 3 sounds eerily similar to that of Arch Manning, bringing back a little PTSD there. But, Trent, what's your thoughts on Hale right now?
I would have had a lot better thoughts if Arch would have delivered. But, I think Texas, at the end of the day, I think Jalen Hale really loves Georgia. I mean, you could tell that coming off his visit. I think he really liked the coaching staff. I think he really liked the campus. There is that connection with Arch Manning. He's from out there. It's going to be hard to beat Texas at the end. But anything can happen between now and then in his announcement, because we don't know when his announcement is going to be. And I do think Georgia is very big in the mix. I think he's one of the top 3 schools, obviously. I just think at the end of the day, Texas might be the school to beat.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to pull guys out of the state of Texas, especially in the environment that we're in now, which I'm not saying, legal, illegal, whatever. I'm just saying it's the world of NIL, and Texas A&M. Just if you look at the actual numbers with revenue brought in, there are 2 schools that are not hurting for money to be able to help do that. So that means their booster base is able to do that through collectives and stuff like that. So always going to be difficult there. You see Georgia is going to be in a battle with Hakeem Williams as well at receiver, with Texas A&M involved, and Pittsburgh's even still involved with him and stuff like that. Maybe they can get their boosters to pony up a little NIL after losing Jordan Atkinson to USC. Maybe they feel a little scorned by that. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out with those top tier receivers. But this is why Brian McClendon was brought here. Kirby Smart obviously has beliefs that he's a top tier recruiter and coach, former Georgia player himself. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out on those top tier receivers. All right, Jed, you're going to love this one. A little panic question here from KSDJ 1869.
There is widespread panic on the vault right now, with the vent and sheer panic about the offensive line. Most of our top targets so far committing. How are we feeling with Monroe Freeling, Samson Okunlola, and others at the top of the board? And does Bo Hewley stay committed?
Yeah, I'm not going to say that it should be a full-on, meltdown of panic, but I will say that I don't think it's looking great right now for Georgia in this offensive line, as great as they would want it to. I mean, Trent, is that a fair assessment to say that, sometimes you just have to call a spade and say that they miss on people?
Yeah, I think this was a class where you really needed to hit, on a couple. I think Ernest Green was the big one in the last class, but you really needed to hit on 2 or 3, similar to what Sam Pittman does. You're never going to be, nobody's Sam Pittman on the recruiting trail, but you needed to land a couple of elite offensive tackles in this class, in my opinion. And right now you don't, have those guys, and you've missed on some. But at the same time, the vault always panics in July, and Kirby always delivers at the end of the day. But that is offensive line is one position that is worrisome right now.
Yeah, they've lost Raquez McElderry to Alabama. And listen, some people want to downplay McElderry and things like that. But listen, Alabama's not taking somebody if they can't play. Okay, so Raquez McElderry was a good offensive tackle that can bump into play guard as well, that Georgia identified early with Matt Luke there. And, just things kind of happened since the Luke transition. Listen, same thing could be said with Madden Sanker. I believe at the time of us recording this is getting ready to make his announcement, or maybe has already made his announcement. And that was a deal that Georgia seemed to be a lock for when Matt Luke was there. So it's a transition process. TJ Shanahan was real high on Georgia after his official visit. It seems like now he's trending towards Texas A&M. So Georgia definitely is going to have to really go after guys like Freeling and Akunlala. And then, they've got Kelton Smith that they're targeting with a announcement date coming up soon, Jed, like we said earlier.
Yeah, I think Georgia likes where they sit with Kelton Smith. And I said this with Paul and the guys last night. I haven't heard this. I just have a weird, speaking of gut feelings, I just have a feeling that Bo Hewley ends up at Auburn. I don't really know why. It's just the vibe I'm getting right now. Could he end up in Athens? Sure. That's another thing I say with Paul. There's a best case scenario in this class where you keep Bo Hewley, you land Monroe Freeling. Super best case scenario, you land Samson Okunlola, but I don't think that's going to happen. So if you land Hewley, you land Freeling, you pull in KJ Smith, that's 2 Rivals 250 guys for sure, and KJ Smith could move up. Now, the worst case scenario on the flip side of that, you lose Hewley, you miss on Freeling, and then you're at KJ Smith and Joshua Miller, and your other targets are kind of going elsewhere. So, like you said, it's not full-blown panic, but there's definitely some reason for concern just because, like you were saying, Trent, this is a class where you kind of needed to hit a lot. And if Shanahan goes elsewhere, Okunlola goes elsewhere, like I think he's going to, then all of a sudden you're kind of looking around like, where are we going for offensive tackles right now?
Yeah, and it is worth saying that Dell McGee's involved with the TJ Shanahan recruitment as well. So even though it looks like it's trending towards A&M right now, that a guy like Dell McGee's not going to quit trying. And then, of course, Coach Searles is trying to build that relationship as well. But, never call it over till it's over, but it does seem after the visits have been taken that A&M has emerged as a favorite. So offensive line is definitely the position that is going to be scrutinized the most probably in this class. Mikey P follows that up. Not Mikey P, 1983 says, do you think we attempt to flip several OL recruits late in this cycle, or do you think the coaches are happy with who's available? That's a great point, Trent. Just because somebody's not a target or not being actively recruited right now, Georgia showed it, has shown it in the past to go be able to flip guys late. Heck, they've already flipped Joshua Miller in this class. So, what are your thoughts on that? Maybe as it gets closer to December, some rumblings start coming of some flips.
Yeah, I mean, even the guys committing, already committed. When the season starts and that the visits start calming down, they can be able to focus on these games, and then if a team's starting to struggle, you're gonna see some decommits. I mean, it's always happens. It happens every year. You start watching a season, you start hearing coaches on hot seats and stuff like that, and you start seeing recruits start jumping ship, and you're going to see that again. And I mean, not necessarily, I don't know who that's going to happen to, but I could see several offensive line remaining spots coming from flips.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, recruiting's fluid. And who knows what's going on in the world of NIL and things like that. Now, I will say this. I don't know that there's many offensive linemen that are getting as big at NIL deals as other people. Who knows? Maybe like, Dunkin' Donuts, stuff like that starts coming through for the O-linemen, the Michelin tires, yeah, all that kind of stuff. Beef. Yeah, we got the meats for sure. So we'll see what happens with the OL. But that's a great question, Mikey P. It definitely could be some flips in store depending on how some of these guys go here in the coming weeks. All right, Jay, we got one from Double Dog Daria 1906.
Yeah, fact or fiction. 1, UGA will sign 1 5-star offensive player of the cycle. 2, UGA will sign the best defensive class this year in the country, I guess. And then 3, offensive recruits are in wait and see mode with UGA.
Yeah, so let's go one by one. UGA will sign 1 5-star offensive player this cycle. I'm going to say fiction. What are y'all's thoughts?
Yeah, I would say fiction too. Like, I think your best bet would be like
Hakeem Williams.
Either that or like if you land Justice Haynes and he somehow gets bumped up to a 5-star, which I don't see them
putting a running back in the 5-star.
Which if our national analyst here was doing his job, Justice Haynes would be a 5-star.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, I guess yeah, I guess guys that are already 5 stars. Yeah, I guess Hakeem Williams is your best shot. You got to battle with A&M there. I mean, Okunlola, I guess, is a chance, but like I said before, I don't see him ending up in Athens. So I guess the two shots are either Hakeem Williams or sign Justice and see if he gets bumped up, which probably ain't gonna happen.
And the second, so fiction across the board there. UGA will sign the best defensive class this year. Man, if they don't, I don't know who's. I mean, Ohio State has a chance to sign a really good one with some of the people that they've pulled in. But I think if Georgia's able to add, they've already got C.J. Allen and Raylen Wilson on board. A.J. Harris and Daniel Harris are on board. If Jamaal Jarrett joins, and they end up getting a Samuel and Pimba, and on the edge, a number 3 player in the country, I think Georgia sits well with Joenel Aguero or Caleb Downs, or something crazy happens and they get both of them. I mean, it could be another ridiculous defensive class, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, if you had told me that Georgia would have the defensive back committed that they have today after the class they had this past year, I would have called you crazy. I thought it was definitely going to be a down class. I thought that would be what pulled this class defensive ranking down. But with who they have committed and who they could still land a defensive back, I think this defense class is going to be elite again.
Yes, I think we're all saying a fact there
that
Georgia could go fact. Jed, our offensive recruits in wait and see mode with UGA, fact or fiction?
I mean, I don't think so. Like, I'm gonna say fiction, just because like, what are you waiting to say? Like last year would have been one thing, but now like I don't. Either you've seen it or you haven't. I think kind of at this point, at least with the Todd Monken thing. Like if you don't think DeBron Gatling's a perfect example. I talked to DeBron Gatling. He was the guy who was like, yeah, I want to play in a little bit more of a wide open offense than Georgia's. And that's, if that's fine. But if you like what Georgia does at this point, like you kind of know what Todd Monken and the thing are looking, or what their offense is going to look like. So, I mean, if anyone should be in wait and see mode, right, it'd be 24 recruits. And Georgia just landed 2 top 40, 24 offensive recruits like 4 days ago. So I don't think so. I'm going to go fiction on that one.
I'm gonna go fiction too. I think that, like Jed said, what are they waiting on? There's nothing really. What do you have to see? Georgia's offense just went going about 50-50, more 50-50 than they ever have with the run pass to a national championship with a former walk-on at quarterback. They threw the ball around. I think that the rotations is something that the one thing that I could say that recruits might be watching, the rotation. If you want to be the man at running back, you don't want to come to Georgia. If you want 30 carries a game, you're not going to come to Georgia. Same thing at wide receiver. We'll see how the rotations are, but that could be the only thing that I'm seeing as a wait and see mode. You've seen what Todd Monken likes to do. You see he likes to stretch the field. You see he likes to get the ball out in playmakers' hands. There's nothing really I'm out to see other than what rotations McClendon might be running.
Yeah, I think it's fiction too, because I think what this has turned into, and people may not like to hear this, but I think Kirby Smart has identified a type of person that he likes to recruit, not just a player, but I think there is a specific type of person in this day of NIL and transfer portal that he gets to know these families, he gets to know these players, and he tries to identify guys who basically are going to fit to a T Georgia's core values. Now, are there players that the talent is just so overwhelming that regardless, even if there's some red flags or maybe it's not an exact locker room fit, something like that you're going to go after? Absolutely. But I will tell you this, there's some players in this class and also some players in the last couple of classes that Georgia could have had if they wanted to, and actually, decided to go in a different direction themselves. Trent, I think once you're at the level that Kirby Smart has brought this Georgia program to, you're just going to see the Georgia staff be very selective with who they bring into the culture, because they've built that championship culture.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I think, Tyler Williams being a guy that Georgia sits in a good position for. I think his mama was the one tweeting about Neil and Neil. I said Neil again.
NIL.
It's a new name. NIL and her not shopping her son and stuff like that. I think
the quote was, "I'm not going to pimp out my son to the highest bidder." That is what she said. So.
Incredible quote.
So we got pimp out into a UGA Sports episode here. So
that's amazing.
Good on us.
But just that type. I mean, type of kids that you can depend on not to transfer out after year one, because not a lot of freshmen play at Georgia because they've stacked the roster year after year in these recruiting classes. So you don't see as many freshmen play. Somebody that's going to not jump ship after year one, they're just looking for those kind of kids and those kind of families.
But yet, if the opportunity presents itself, as you saw last year, Georgia's top 3 pass catchers in terms of receptions were freshmen.
Yeah,
McConkey, Bowers, and Mitchell. So I mean, it's just all about. They say all the time, if you're good enough, you're old enough. So that's what it is. But I agree with you in a lot of positions, like offensive line, it's hard to get on the field as a freshman. Quarterback, you're probably not going to get on the field as a freshman. Even Arch Manning was not going to walk in and just start day one. That was not going to happen, in my opinion. I don't think that'll happen at Texas. Yeah.
Inside linebacker is another position that's hard to get on with Kirby's defense. Just a lot of leadership and having a guy there that you can count on to get
Exactly. But that was a fun little segment there by Double Dog Dare You 1906. We appreciate that. What's up, dog? He says, Troy Bowles, Jamaal Jarrett, Joenel Aguero, Caleb Downs, and Justice Haynes. Are all 5 of them already silent commits to our Dogs, yes or no? I'll answer that with no, they are not. There's several listed there that have not made a decision yet. And there may be a couple sprinkled in there that are. And I think you can just go look at some future casts and things like that to kind of read into the lines there, but not all of them are. I know there's a couple in there that are still mulling over decisions, and quite honestly, Jed, I don't know how much in today's world you can put stock in a silent commitment today anyways.
Yeah, it's especially not that you even necessarily could before, but yeah, with NIL and stuff, it's
nil.
You should put nil importance on silent commits in the NIL list. Now, that being said, could Georgia eventually end up with all 5 of those guys? I think the answer is very much yes on that one.
Yeah, I think they're all 5 in play, but by no means are they silently committed right now, all of them. So
let me ask you this. If Caleb Downs and Aguero come, what does that do with Pill?
Chris Pill?
Yep.
I don't know. I think it becomes a numbers game at that point. How many do they sign on the edge? How many do they sign at defensive tackle? It just kind of somewhere's got to be a give and take. But I know Chris Pill is someone that Georgia really, really likes, and could see him, ending up in this class, especially if Georgia doesn't land both Aguero and Caleb Downs. But speaking of Caleb Downs, North Buckhead Dog says here, what has changed about the Caleb Downs recruitment that has several now optimistic with him? I put a note out there. I've still got a future cast in for Caleb Downs to Ohio State, but I am hearing that the appeal of the SEC in itself and the development of the SEC and the product that the SEC constantly puts out to the NFL is a big factor there. I mean, Caleb Downs is one of the most talented players that I think all 3 of us have seen in the last few years. He's just an unbelievable ball player, the instincts, the ability. And he's a guy that it's not out of the, it's not unrealistic for him to be looking towards his NFL future because he's got that kind of gift to hone and craft. But I think that's what's given Alabama and Georgia kind of a better run at him now, whereas Ohio State, I think, had a lead a few weeks ago.
I think it's plus the fact that he didn't pull the trigger at Ohio State, back when they had all the momentum for him coming off visits, and Ohio State was seemed to be the big leader, and there rumors of a commitment coming, and nothing ever happened. No commitment ever happened. As long as the further this gets off from his visits, I think the better things are going to be for Georgia.
Yeah, but Jed, Brandon Ennis and a couple of those guys that are committed to Ohio State are definitely pushing, especially after Ohio State had a big weekend this weekend. Everybody's atting Caleb Downs on Twitter and Instagram, trying to get him to join in. So the current commits at Ohio State are kind of being relentless right now and going after Caleb Downs.
Yeah, and as they should be. I mean, Georgia commits, I'm sure I haven't seen it on Twitter as much, but I'm sure they're doing the same with Caleb as well. And Ohio State's, they put out defensive backs to the NFL. They got Kay and Lee, who I'm sure Caleb Downs is familiar with, former Georgia commit. So, yeah, it's one of those things. Caleb's a very tough kid to read. I think when you look at Georgia, the main thing Georgia has going for it in the conversations I've had with him is the appeal of being coached by Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, and Fran Brown, all having their hands of being able to coach Caleb Downs there. So that's the main thing Georgia's got going for it. And I'm sure, like you said, Trent, the farther it gets out from that Ohio State visit, the more they're hammering that home of, hey, if you want to be developed as a defensive back, like you said, Blaine, what better place to come than Georgia, where you've got two former SEC safeties coaching, guys that have sent a ton of guys to the NFL, plus you got Fran Brown on top of that.
And I think Ohio State only signed 2 defensive backs in their entire class last year, maybe 3 at the most. So they're very thin, and they especially at the safety spot. So that combination with the combination of the relationship that Downs and his family have built with, I think Delino is how you pronounce the last name of the defensive back coach that came over from Cincinnati that coached Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant, and then of course they've got the new defensive coordinator there as well. But like you said, Georgia and Alabama, some newfound momentum, it seems, here in the Downs recruitment. And I put that out on a note on the vault, last week, that I'm leaning towards that future cast for me flipping to one of those 2 SEC schools as we go down the stretch here. But, we'll see. As for right now, I'm going to hold it with Ohio State, but I do think it's likely that I end up flipping that as we get a little bit closer to a commitment here. All right, Jay, we've got another one here.
From Senator Blutarski, chances from 0 to 100% that a quarterback currently in high school will sign with Georgia in this class.
I say 0.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go super. I'll say like 15, maybe. I mean, no. I mean, I don't.
I'll say 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's not impossible, but I mean,
6.9.
There's Case and Wiseman. I mean, I was put a note out the other day about Austin Novosad, the Baylor commit. Georgia hadn't been in touch with him, so he's off the board. I mean, there could be a guy that emerges late or whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's super. If they haven't moved on it definitively, like at this point, that tends to make you think they're leaning more towards either a portal guy or just looking straight at 24. So I put it like 15, low chance, not impossible, but as of right now, I think it's a pretty low chance.
Yeah, if you want to add portal to that, I think it goes up to well above 50%, I would say. But if it's currently high school quarterback, I'm going way down towards 0 there. All right, will anyone challenge? I think he was trying to put Texas A&M and Miami for the recruiting title after the rapture. I don't know what this is an interesting one here. I guess he's referring to the NIL and all that kind of stuff that's helping Miami and Texas A&M. I don't know, guys. I mean, do you think Texas A&M or Miami ends up hauling in the number 1 class again this year? I think it's going to be hard to beat Ohio State this time around.
Yeah, I would say Ohio State is probably the favorite to land number 1 class. Of course, is the oil money dried up? Apparently not.
And Texas is doing great things too. So
I would bet against Miami getting it, just until it's the simple fact that they got to prove that they're going to do it before they do it. I think a lot's going to depend. These are two teams you're talking about, Texas and not Texas A&M, Texas and Miami. Well, Texas A&M too. That they're going to have to prove something on the field, because you're gonna lose some of your top guys if you don't prove some things on the field. And Miami hasn't done that in quite a while, and Texas has struggled to do that, and Texas A&M is coming off a great year where they went 8-4. So we'll see what happens. But
I think Miami has the best opportunity this year to gain momentum because the ACC is not that strong, and they've got a really good quarterback in Tyler Van Dyke, and I just think that they could easily, have a lot of success. But I think Texas A&M is going to get obliterated on October 8th, especially when they face Alabama, and Saban just gets to take out all his frustration on Jimbo over there. But Ohio State's going to be tough. Texas is going to be tough. Yeah, but I think you'll see Georgia end up there in the top, 2, 3, 4 spots. I think this flurry of commitments is likely coming. I think Georgia's going to end up sitting pretty strong. But that's it for our questions this week, guys. Guys, you got anything coming up, Jed, that people need to know about on the website before we sign off here?
Nothing in particular. Just like we've been talking about all show, we're expecting a lot of commits to be coming by the end of the month, and we'll look to have you covered with behind-the-scenes stories from those guys, opinions from their coaches, what it means, other guys that could be next at all those positions, on all that kind of stuff. So if you want to be covered, if you want these commitments covered from every angle, be sure you're subscribed to the Vault and the Vent, and just stay tuned.
A little scoop too. Roddy's headed out of town, so you know what that means.
Yeah, somebody asked us. I put a note saying that we had some business to take care of tonight with this show being recorded instead of live, and somebody asked on the Vault if we were carrying out a code red on Roddy or something like that. I'm like, are we talking Few Good Men here? You need me on that wall. So we're gonna see. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see. Dash got some commitments come Georgia's way with his vacation. We'll see what happens with Roddy going out of town.
Jed's headed out of town too. So
hey, all kinds of stuff going on.
Me and Blaine will hold it down. That's all right.
We'll hold it down. We'll get all the commitment stories out and stuff, see what's going on here. But while you guys are having yourself a blast over there. But for Jed May and Trent Smallwood, I'm Blaine Gilmer, and we'll catch you guys next time on UGA Sports, Rumors versus Facts.